What's up, everyone? I'm Nate. Welcome to the channel. This is something I want to talk about that a lot of people don't really talk about when you open up a game store, a local game store. It's not the distributors. Got my notes here for don't get squirreled around off track. It's not the distros. It's not wizards. It's not the YouTube gurus. It's the problem customers. It's not even the trolls or the haters online. Talk about the customers who walk through your door, smile at you, say they support the shop, quietly make your life harder. So I decided to do a little video talk about the 7 red flags that I feel like people should learn early. So if you don't, they'll drain your time, your money, and eventually they'll kill the love for the game, for the store. So let's get right on to the first one. So this one is, I call red flag number 1 is, I call it asses in seats. This one I've seen firsthand. I've heard it from other stores. This is a trap that a lot of new local game stores will see and they fall into. You see the tables full, there's people playing, the shop feels alive, but there's a truth. The truth in that is asses and seats don't equate to a healthy business. You don't make money off of it. You got people just sitting there. We call them the professionals. They like to take up space. You'll notice them. They'll sit there for 6 to 8 hours. They'll use your tables, chairs, your Wi-Fi, your electricity, your bathrooms. They'll bring in outside food. May not buy anything. If they do, might be a couple dollar drinks, a couple snacks here and there every week. And then the owner tells himself they build a community, they'll support it later, the store looks busy. In reality, busy doesn't pay rent. People sitting at tables don't pay distributors. Busy doesn't pay you. A full store with no sales is worse than an empty store because it lies to you while bleeding you. And eventually, people get entitled. They start saying, we're the reason people come here. You need us. If we leave, this place dies. We'll take the players with us. That's not community. That's leverage. Real customers, they're going to support the store. They're going to hangouts are fine. It's okay for people to come in there and hang out, but the permanent freeloaders is what we call them. Those are the ones. They're not worth it. I've seen this quite a few times in my store where we have a few people that come in there, they bring their laptop in, and we got a gaming lounge, so we had all the video games and stuff, and then we also had tables and everything set up for people to play, and had our commander night and all that stuff. But there's always a few people that would come in there and they would just bring their laptop in, which is fine, whatever. But they would never. I started to notice that, and some of my players would notice too, that they would come up and tell me that we all started to notice that a few people wouldn't buy stuff. They would just come in there, hook their laptop up to the Wi-Fi, use our Wi-Fi to download games on their laptop, and then play games. A couple of them would come in there and download games and then take it home and play. Sometimes you just gotta have that uncomfortable talk with them and let them know, like, hey, we appreciate you being here, but at the same time, you can't just freeload off of everything. Like, it's just not fair to people that do want to be there and play, and they support you, they support the store, and they support the community. But when you get those freeloaders there, and then they're taking up all the chairs and stuff, and not buying anything, not engaging in other games or other customers or other players, and then your true players that want to come play don't have a place to sit. So then you gotta have that uncomfortable talk. So that would be the red flag number one. Red flag number two is you're gonna get those customers that we like to call they can run the store better than you. These are what you'll see them early. They come into the store early. They always have a comment on every decision that you make. They question your pricing. Excuse me. They question your inventory, your events. They question you. But in reality, they've never paid rent. They've never written a check or paid an invoice to a distributor. They've never dealt with chargebacks or the theft or payroll or dealing with the issues with distros not having enough product in stock. But they've got opinions on every single thing that goes on in the store. They'll say, sometimes I've heard it numerous times. There was a certain person that always had something to say. It was always, my old store, we did it this way, or you really should start carrying this, or you're leaving money on the table if you're not carrying this, or you're doing too much of this. And then if they could run a store, and honestly, for a new game store, it's hard to take that without taking it as like a jab. But in reality, you just gotta ignore it. They do that to every store. To be honest, if they could run a store better than you, they'd have their own store. But I always tell people, advice is always welcome. Give me advice. Give the store, whatever store you go to, you're more than welcome to give them advice. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is the backseat ownership is not. The moment a customer believes they're smarter than the owner, the respect is already gone. So that would be red flag number two. Red flag number three would be the store hoppers. Those customers, they always have a story. There's always some reason why they don't go to a store no more, or they've always had problems. There was always a problem, but it's never them. They got banned for no reason. We had a few people said they were banned from another store, and they got banned from this store, and nobody really played in this group, and then it's a pattern. They usually float from store to store. They stir up drama. They like to test their boundaries, see what they can and can't do. They push the rules. They look for weakness in the ownership. They do a lot of pushing rules, pushing boundaries. They like to stir up drama by saying like a person's doing this, or we had an incident. I remember in my store we had one of the store hoppers, we call them. And they would say this person stole their deck, so we go back and look at the cameras. Didn't happen. End of the day, I talked to them. They were telling us that if we didn't get rid of that person or abandoned, they were never coming back. Needless to say, that person never came back. So they'll weed themselves out. So something's, unfortunately, every business has got to deal with it. You can't get away from it. It's just going to happen. Not really much on that. Red flags is a very short one. They'll weed themselves out. Red flag number 4, That is the one where the customer, they basically think they're a staff when they're not a staff. This one's sneaky. This one is very hard to tell until it happens. Um, they're always going to be hanging around constantly, answering questions for other customers, jumping in, correcting other players, thinking they're the authority on everything, and their word is final word. But in reality, they're not on payroll. They're not accountable. They don't represent your policies. They don't represent your store. They they start confusing customers at the end of the day. They start confusing the customers because the customers don't know if they're working for you, who they're speaking for, did you hire them, anything like that. And now it becomes dangerous territory because they start customers start going to them for questions or answers or looking for cards or whatever whatever. And then the customers think that that customer is speaking for you or is working for you. So that one's a hard one to sneak up on. I've dealt with a few like that. I've talked to a few other stores before around us that's dealt with that quite a few times. Quite a few players. That one, just the sooner you can catch it, the better. Get that knocked out real quick. Red flag. Moving on to red flag number 5. These are the customers that they dictate. They think they can dictate what you carry. They don't. Normal customers, they're going to suggest like, hey, you should carry these, or they'll make suggestions, and that's okay. The ones we're talking about are the ones that they demand you carry certain things. Or they'll say things like, you need to carry this, or why don't you stock this, or you never stock this, or no one wants this product, you should get something else. Dealt with that personally quite a few times with quite a few people. And it basically, what that really means is, why don't you cater to me and only me? And really, what they don't understand is inventory decisions are about, you gotta factor in your turn rate, you gotta factor in your margins, your distributor constraints, capital risk. If your stock is if your stock is based on the loudest voice in the room, you're going to drown in dead inventory. Unfortunately I've done that a few times with a couple products. I thought they were, had a few people that are like, yeah, you should carry this. A lot of people want to get into it and start playing it and this and that. Got it, and it sat on the shelves. I sold, I want to say around here, Digimon and Dragon Ball and Star Wars Unlimited. Don't really, and Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood is not a big thing here. That was probably the biggest one that I went all in, and I want to say it's been a while. The Misvales, I can't remember what set it was, but got that. Got that. Try to get a bunch of people in here for that. We couldn't even give it away. So I just enough was enough. I just quit selling it. Never ordered anymore. On the East Coast, on the coast, it does good. Over here in the Midwest, it's not that big of a hit. We had a few people that would come in and buy a couple decks, and that would be about it, because they wanted those decks and the certain cards in them. That was about it. And a lot of it, customers don't understand. Just because they want something or something's a good idea, that doesn't translate to the distros are going to have it, or you're going to be able to get consistently from distros. Like, there's a lot of factors go into it with carrying certain things, and I tell people all the time, don't just jump into getting something to fill a shelf. I'd rather have an empty shelf than dead inventory sitting on a shelf that doesn't move. Moving on to red flag number 6. This one, I've had a couple people I dealt with on this one. This one is, these are the customers that they try to control who you can hire. They'll say, I've heard him say things, you should work here, you should hire my friend, that employee shouldn't be here. And they assume if they work for you, they get free products, they get special treatment, they get the influence. They don't. In reality, they don't want a job. They just want access to the product. Hiring is about trust. You got to be professionalism, reliability, not just who hangs out the most. The second the customer thinks they can influence staffing, boundaries are already broken. Dealt with that with a few people. Even got to the point where they were telling me that a certain person couldn't work for me. If I didn't get rid of them, they're going to take the whole play group. Well, I didn't get rid of them, and they took the whole play group. Didn't affect business. It was more of a you got to set your boundaries. And then eventually it was just more of a I let them know. And then one of the customers came in and told me that she was applying for a job and proceeded to tell me that they could do a better job than any of us there. Needless to say, she didn't get hired. But that's going to happen. That happens everywhere, not just in the card store, game stores. It happens everywhere. Something you just got to deal with, nick it in the butt as soon as you can. That's really about it on that one. Red flag number 7. They use the community as a weapon. This is a very dangerous one. And they always hide behind words like community, vibes, culture. Reality, what they really want and what they really mean is they want you to let them do whatever they want. They'll guilt you into they're going to kill the community, and the other stores wouldn't do this. This is bad for the players. But in reality, honestly, real community supports the store, not the other way around. The store exists to serve customers, yes, but it's not owned by them. And the moment community becomes leverage, it's no longer healthy. Dealt with that. I've seen that. Talked to other game stores. It happens quite a bit. Those people go back to the shop hoppers. They go around different stores. They try to dictate what goes on in the store. They try to use the communities. They try to get the community to bang against the store because they didn't get their way. Happens all the time. And that's it on the red flags. None of this means, though, that you should be cold or mean or greedy or anti-player. It just means that you need to set your boundaries. And honestly, it's like that is the fastest way to kill a local game store. It's not the bad product. It's not being able to get products. It's letting the wrong people run your store emotionally. You can't. It's okay to be emotional and have emotions about it, but you gotta keep them in check. And if you're new, you gotta learn this early. You gotta pay attention. Remember, it's your store, your business. You're the one that started it. You're the one that had a dream to do it. You put the money and the risk up. You have the final say so. If you're in an established store, now might be the time to audit your store. Take a look at the customer.